Hey guys, what is up? It is No Help and welcome back to another video today. If you guys like the video, make sure to go ahead and smash the like button and maybe even consider subscribing for more. I was talking to my friend the other day and he actually gave me this idea to talk about the very first time playing old school RuneScape. Now, unfortunately, I didn't actually play the day of release. I was focused on EOC, believe it or not. I kind of thought that the old school RuneScape servers were just going to be like a thing for a few months, so I didn't really want to spend time on it. And then I saw that everyone was having a ton of fun, so maybe I played like a week later, but it was still crazy. I remember like going and purchasing the membership and stuff like that right away, and just I never actually played with these graphics before, right? I started in 2009 and they already had the HD look to the game. So the graphics for me at the very start of old school were kind of off-putting. I love them now, but it wasn't like they were off-putting. It was just more or less that I had to get used to it, right? And it was just so much fun, so organic back then. Everything felt so fresh and everyone was so happy. Like the whole community was so happy. You would literally like log into Lumbridge and people would just like give you items. Like the higher level players would just give you items. Like that's how crazy it was. People were just so happy that we had these old school RuneScape servers back. People were competing for high scores and people were doing quests and everything like that. And I remember that people would get in groups together to go ahead and do quests, right? And there'd be like, for the waterfall quest, for example, there'd be like 100 people doing the waterfall quest all at once. And it's just like, you know how the hill giants or fire giants usually kill you, there'd be like 100 people running through that, and only like one or two of us would die and the rest would go ahead and get through. Items were really scarce as well at the beginning, right? Especially the quest items. Like I remember people were making tons of money on these random quest items, right? We didn't have the grand exchange or anything. It felt really weird to not have the grand exchange because I've always had the grand exchange playing this game, right? And it almost felt like we were Iron Man, really. Besides, we could trade other players, but nobody had money to trade other players. People were literally trading items for items like it was back in the good old days. And it was just really weird. Like people would be trading like random herbs for just like a bunch of coal or ore or whatever it was. It was really weird. And the herbs actually were called like identified herbs, and people would get scammed because like they'd be like, oh man, these are ranars, but they'd actually be like irits or something like that. So it was really weird. I remember people would always sell like bundles of herbs where you could just buy a ton of them. Once people started to do like rune crafting and getting their magic up to whatever it was, 52 for high alchemy, or is it 55 for high alchemy, they would start elking all of the longbows, and I believe the very first player to get a 99, I believe, what was it, thieving? I think it was thieving. But shortly after that, you know, the fletchers would come in and get 99 fletching, and that's how the majority of the money came into the game, from people high alking. You would just see high alking everywhere, and the game was so bad and so slow at the start because there were just so many people logged in that you would just be like lagging in Lumbridge. It was weird. I just remember like I wanted to play this account like totally differently. I never have been a huge fan of quests or combat like pre-EOC, so I wanted to like actually get to know that part of RuneScape, and I had so much fun doing all of the quests. Like I think the very start I was actually like reading the dialogue because it was so like refreshing to just have this on a new character, you know what I mean? And it was really weird to me too because I wasn't fully taking the game like super serious, like, oh, I'm gonna go ahead and max or whatever, right? This is way before this Iron Man account right here. This was just a main that I had like, you know, 7, I guess almost 10 years ago now. That's crazy. But I would just be doing quests and actually like not taking the game super seriously because I didn't think I was going for max or whatever, right? And eventually I thought the game would just die out and just be like a phase. I think Jagex realized that with old school RuneScape, they were getting so many more players than the traditional RuneScape, and I think it actually genuinely shocked them, and they eventually made like a small dev team to actually go ahead and work on the game because they weren't really doing that at the start, right? And it was just grew from there, man. And there's been problems, obviously. Like, the bots are crazy on this game. There was so many bots, like tons of bots when Old School Runescape first started. Don't get me wrong, there's still bots today, but not like when it very first came out. There was so many. For the first little while as well, items were like so rare, right? So if you saw somebody with like an abyssal whip, it was crazy. I believe people were selling them for like 12 mil or something like that when there wasn't anyone in the game. Like, only a few people had 85 Slayer, right? And they were just making bank off whips. People soon also decided to swap RuneScape 3 gold for Old School, and I believe when it first came out, it was literally like a 1 GP on Old School was like 100 GP on RS3. Like, that's just freaking crazy. People, you know, putting tons and tons of money, and all these clans and whatever started doing the swapping to trust and all that. It was a mess. I'm sure a ton of people got scammed, but yeah. I just remember like getting like, you know, your first rune scimitar or something like that, and there weren't many of them in the game, right? And there wasn't like a grand exchange or anything like that, so you like, it was kind of like I said, you felt like an Iron Man in a way where you were just so excited to get like the most simple items, or even like red dye or whatever it was. Like, you actually had to go ahead and collect items, and the bank was a mess when the game first came out. We didn't have tabs or anything. It was literally like Old School RuneScape, right? Like from 2007. So like, there's so many updates. Thinking about it now, like if I could put the game side by side from like day of release versus how the game is now, it's totally different. So since we didn't have the grand exchange, people were getting scammed all of the time, right? And obviously this is a problem, but they didn't want to add the grand exchange. Like, it's just weird that the grand exchange wasn't there when Old School RuneScape first came out, thinking about that now. But there was this website people were using called Zybez, and it was kind of a cool thing because you'd like open up another tab, and then it would basically be like the grand exchange. So you would see people's like offers. So say I wanted to buy like nature runes, right? I would go on the Zybez and type in nature rune, and I'd see like 5, 6, 10 people offering to sell them. They'd put their price they wanted, and then they'd say like add me and meet me in game. So literally what you would do is you'd see their offer, you'd add the person in game, and then you'd have to like meet them and actually trade. It was actually like really cool though. I kind of liked that. It reminded me of like MapleStory from back in the day, where you would just stand at the market and trade, and that was your other option too. You could just stand in like Varrock or Falador and spam like, I need to buy nature runes, and like hope somebody trades you. This was a nightmare for little things like quest items, and people would sell quest items for like 10k, 20k each for something so simple, because most people wanted to buy bulk trades, right? But nobody needs like 100 like chef's hats or whatever it might be, right? So yeah, it was cool with the Zybez. I remember just buying tons and tons and tons, and then there would be merchanters or like that would like store and like hoard items. And I remember this one guy, I forget what his name was. I really wish I remember what the guy's name was, but I came to him for everything. He was always on Zybez posting everything, whatever I needed, I could just know this guy had it. It was crazy. He was like the grand exchange. I would literally just message him for everything. I bought all of my raw food for 99 cooking from him. I bought all of my logs for 99 fletching from him, and it was just a really cool time. I just remember like I kind of started like trusting this guy, and like I would just ask him for anything, and he just always had it. It was weird. It did feel really cool though to actually like get enough like raw materials without the grand exchange, because I've never done something like that before, right? Looking at it now in Iron Man and stuff like that, it doesn't really sound crazy or anything, but before the grand exchange, like we literally had to like buy it from other people, right? And you had to make sure you didn't get scammed. Lots of scamming was happening, and obviously that's why they added the grand exchange, so that it would just be done over the grand exchange so people couldn't scam and stuff like that. But it was really cool times, and I definitely remember it. And I know people were mad about the grand exchange, but like in a way it had to happen, right? Imagine still to this day like using Zybez to like confirm trades. That just sounds so weird. I mean, most people play Iron Man now, but all the mains and stuff like that, imagine like going on Zybez and buying like a twisted bow. It just sounds weird. I just remember how popular the game was when it first came back out. Like out of nowhere, all my friends were just messaging me again saying, Old School RuneScape's back, Old School RuneScape's back, we're playing, we're getting maxed, and we're gonna make pures and stuff like that. PKing was super popular, right? So people needed food, so like you made so much money off like fishing and cooking, and it kind of just reminded me of the good old days. People were just like, the wilderness was so like active, like everywhere in the game was just super active. And I mean, Old School RuneScape is still pretty active. Like there's a couple people here, 3 or 4 people just on this world running agility laps with me, right? Which is something you would never see in RS3. Like you go to the Grand Exchange in RS3 and you're lucky to see like 5 to 10 people. You go to the Grand Exchange on Old School and there's what, 200-300 people sitting there. It's kind of crazy. But like when Old School RuneScape first came out, you'd see 1,000+ people in every single world. It was just freaking crazy, and it was just so hype and so popular with YouTube and social media and everything like that, Twitch of course. Yeah, it was just really cool. And I know they're like trying to recreate that in a way with these fresh start worlds. I think they're going to be bringing them into Old School RuneScape as well, which is kind of interesting, but the game's already been out for so long. I don't know how they're going to really do that and make it so like huge again. I guess it would bring more marketing to the game and stuff like that. Very easy to like get people that haven't maybe played or haven't played in a while to come back. But yeah, those were definitely the good old days. Like I say it like it's like pre-OC, but like the start of Old School was really freaking exciting. It was so much fun, and I'm glad I got to experience it, to be completely honest with you. That account, I have no idea where that account is, obviously, because I went ahead and made this Ironman, and this is kind of my main focus now. But yeah. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching the video today. If you went ahead and watched the whole video, comment 39 down in the comments below. Thank you guys, and I will catch you in the next one. See ya later.